All right. So that's the characters you should be looking at, and why you should be looking at those characters. So, what should we be looking for? And for this, I'm actually going to pull this over onto my other screen and show you the actual banners themselves and why I think there's far more good physical banners coming up than there are good banners. And I'll tell you why I think these are the banners to look out for. There are other good banners. I just think these are the ones that are worth looking out for various reasons. Some people will tell you that, well, I'm not getting the banners that are currently running. I assume you've already got an idea of why those are good. This, I would say, Tactics, even with all the controversy over the Tactics banner, this is still probably the best physical banner ever in the history of the game. Enough said there. Some people will tell you that Realm 1 is a good banner, and it's not bad, but Shadow is not a character I'm very fond of on its own. This is not one of Celeste's good soul breaks, and Edgar's soul break on its own isn't enough to tell me. So, the first banner I consider to be a great guaranteed physical banner is Vincent 2, this one right here. It's got Zack Super Soul Break, which is AoE damage and Hastica, which is always good to have. It's got Tifa Super Soul Break. I didn't mention monks earlier. Monks are actually fine. It's just that most monks are not good unless you have good gear for them. This is good gear. Importantly, it has Yuffie's AoE heal. This is honestly a reason to pull on a banner almost as strong as Wall or Platinum Sword. This is that good in my opinion. And it's also got Sid's self-buffing spear, which is more of a consolation prize than a reason to pull. These two right here, Zack Super Soul Break and Yuffie's headband are the two primary reasons to pull on this for a physical banner. Of note here, by the way, this isn't good especially for a physical team, but Vincent's cloak is very good for a hybrid team with just one mage, which makes this something we'll probably banner again next week. The next banner to look for is the very next banner available, which is Bosch 1. This is an incredible physical banner. Bosch's Super Soul Break here is our first Imperil ability, which reduces fire. This one specifically reduces enemy fire resistance by 20%. It's got Rand's Super Soul Break, which is one of two full breakdown effects, which is instead of full breaks minus 30% all stat, this is minus 40%. It's also 7 hits, which is very nice. It's got Bosch's Shield, which is the same effect as Hand of the Emperor, which is a stacking defense and attack buff. Stacks with everything except for Hand of the Emperor. And it has Penelo's Staff, which is a heal, AoE heal, and a boostka. This is not as strong as Ramza's Shout. So if you're using Shout, this is not something you want to use unless you absolutely have to for the heal. But if you don't have Shout, you can get by with Penelo's boost, especially if you also have a Hand of the Emperor effect. Don't dismiss this item just because it's not as good as Shout. Because it's not as good as Shout. But you don't need to have Shout to win. You want to have a boost kind of to win. And this provides a boost. 30% is still perfectly fine. In Bosch 2, the second Bosch banner is also a very good banner. It's got Penelo's Super Soul Break, which is an AoE heal plus damage, which is, I believe, unique. I think this is the only Healer Soul Break which does an AoE heal and damages the enemy. It's got Bond's Super Soul Break, which is not exceptional, not like his burst is. We'll cover that later. But it's still a Super Soul Break for a good character with Combat 5, Support 4. Bosch's Axe is nowhere near as good as Shield, but it's still on a good character. And then it's got these, by the way, these relics are all at 2% rates, judging by the realm banner percentages. We're back up to 2% rate for non-super soul breaks. So it's actually got a better chance to get to a relic for Fran and Balthier, who are both decent enough characters. Balthier is 10 hits and 2 physical points. I have this in Japan. It is actually does a surprising amount of damage, even though the hits are only 50% potency by themselves. There's still 10 of them. So you basically will never hit damage cap with this ability. It scales extraordinarily well with your attack. It is on an exceptionally good character. And then Fran's, I believe this is for Wall Break. This is for Shatterheart, which does defense and resistance minus 40 or 50%, which is extremely good to have, because a lot of times you won't be bringing defense breaks, just because you don't have the slots for them. So some people prefer to use defense breaks as an offense breaks. I'm not one of those people. I would prefer to nerf the enemy's damage rather than deal more damage myself, because I think I do enough damage myself to start with. But that's either way it is stacked. It is both resistance and defense, so it stacks with all that anyway. And it also lasts for 25 seconds instead of 8. Although this, someone in chat correct me, this might be for attack and magic break. I don't remember, honestly. Unfortunately, this one isn't translated yet, so I don't have easy access to it. Either way, this is a stacking dual break, which is a great support. Excuse me, a great support soul break, regardless of their defensive or offensive breaks. Our next, where did I put it? Oh, next banner, ways down here. All these banners casting are just like they have physical abilities on them, but I just don't consider them very good. And some of them just are almost entirely mage-based as well, like this one. Alright, so that's those. The next one I consider a good, dedicated physical banner is Rastus 2. This is the first festival. We won't get these exact same banners, so I'm not going to cover these. We'll get the same first, probably, not the same banners. Lightning has too many mage relics on it, or magic-oriented relics on it. This one I thought about including, but like the only really good character on this list is Edgar. Here, Rastus 2. So this has Chest Super Soul Break, which is AoE crit up, which is a very important ability in the future. It's not so important now because boss defense is still fairly low, but in the future, crit up is a very nice way to kind of sidestep the buff caps and so on. Got Tidus' Super Soul Break, which is one of the worst Super Soul Breaks in the game, but it's still a Super Soul Break for a physical character who can use Fault Siphon plus Full Charge, so it can't be all bad. Orange Glove is not the best damage dealing Soul Break. It carries a stacking taunt plus defense up buff, which is nice. It's got Jet's stun headband, which is good to have. Kamari's Spear. Kamari's not a very good character. This is very much a booby prize. But it's also got red armband, and don't neglect this. Red armband will make all fire damage you deal do 20% more damage, and it's a good armband on its own. Like this is probably better than Kamari's Spear, honestly. Next up, we have. Just checking for questions there. Next up, we have the next Final Fantasy XIV banner. I'm not including these Final Fantasy 1 banners because there's no guarantee we'll get them. This is the Mobius event, and Mobius is not a global property. yet, so we probably won't get these, at least in this order. Maybe if it ever does get released globally, we'll get the event, but I wouldn't count on it anytime soon. The next banner is not necessarily the absolute best physical banner, but I included it. It does have Ida's Super Soul Break. Ida is probably one of the better monks because she has support 4. Thankfully, daggers are at least 4 hits. But the real big thing is that it's got Siren's movement and a 2% rate. This is one of your best chances to draw a wall in the game. The rest of the banner is not like, if you're pulling on this banner, it's mainly for Cyrus. But I did want to include it because of that. Next, we have Yang One. And I am passing over, like, there are banners here that have decent loadouts, but they're just not things that I consider where they are in the timeline. They're just not as good. So this one is another one of the best banners in the game. This has Paladin Cecil's BSB, which is, some people consider the best damage dealing physical BSB in the game. It's certainly way up there, regardless of who you ask. Team Super Soul Break is a good thing to have. It's not incredible. It's certainly worse than Paladin Cecil's BSB, but it's still a good Super Soul Break. It gives him, it's 4 hits, it makes his next 3 jumps instant hit no airtime, which basically negates all the downsides of jumps. Rose's bow is incredible. It's basically selfie screen stage, except on a character you can use wrap to just pump them out. This sword is a Busca, I think, which is not terrible. Dark Cecil is not good. And then Edge's 8 hits, I believe this stuns as well. Katana. This is pretty much a consolation prize, but it's still not terrible. And as often as a consolation prize, if you do happen to have a mage team, this is one of the 2 best. This is Haste March, which is 30% Magicka and Hastea. It's one of the 2 best mage support soul breaks in the game. 3 best now, I guess, but we'll get to that. This is not something you want for your physical party, but it's good to have if you aren't all in on physical parties anyway. Next one. Special mention for the Ferris one here. This is mostly a mage banner, but it does have Ferris's DSP, which is very good. The next one I consider an excellent physical banner is the Cydia Heroes 2 banner. This has Super Soul Break. Theory's Super Soul Break is not as good as Luna's, but it's still good. Where like Helm, Von, Garasumaru, and the Dane's Lona, his non-super break anyway. This isn't an exceptional banner, but it's a very solid one for physical characters. Like, even this is not a bad support once they don't have an AoE heal. I don't believe the heal is in and of itself, but it's still a worthwhile, like, secondary ability. And then the very next banner after that, this is the Dagger Dress Record Banner 1. This has Zidane's Burst, which is not the best burst in the game, but it's far from the worst as well. Freya's Super Soul Break, which is very similar to King's on a arguably better Dragoon. This is, I think this is Kina's Hand of the Emperor spear. I think it is. Maybe. Let me double check this one actually. Hold on 1 second. The problem with doing these banner things is they're all in Japanese and they're actually so Japanese. I have to. Yeah, okay. This is King of the Emperor, which is an excellent support, like a soul break to use for support. It's attacking the defense up with stacks. It's got Beatrice's Rose of May, which is just a damage soul break, but it's on a good character, and it's got Steiner's Ultimate Sword, which again is just damage, but it's on a good character. Yeah, yeah, it's the Hand of the Emperor. Thank you for that, though. Next we have Prompt 1 and 2, which is these. One is probably the better band, they're both good. One has Gon's PSP, which is arguably the best PSP in the game. It's an instant cast 5-hit attack that has a unique stacking debuff, which is, if I remember correctly, magically decent now. There's no other debuff in the game gives, so stacks everything. And the attacks on it are breakdowns for magic and defense individually that have ninja spell cast times. They're 8/10 of a second cast. This is fairly Omega tier, at least S tier, versus Soul Break. It's extremely good. Bosch's Super Soul Break is 6/10 in Party Blitz, which is pretty good for a certain type. Got the armor for the Prompt, who is a Dark Paladin. It's got Baltier's Soul Break Gun and Pinello's War Dance again, which I've already talked about. They're both very good. Cabron's 2 has Cabron's Super Soul Break, Baltier's Super Soul Break, Fran's Super Soul Break. I don't remember offhand what Cabron's does. I'd have to look it up. But it's a Super Soul Break for a Dark Paladin. It's pretty good. It's got Hand the Emperor Shield. Again, this is not quite as good a banner as the Bronze 1, but it's still good if you decide you don't want to pull this one for whatever reason. I don't know what that reason would be, because this first is good enough in its own right. Just to pull, like, I don't recommend ever pulling for one item, but if you're going to pull for one item, this is one of the one items you're going to pull for. The next ones to look at are the two second tactics of it. Both of these banners are good for different reasons. Rams's Burst Soul Break is terrible. Like, it's seriously terrible. It's still a Burst Super Soul Break. It's not, like, bad as far as Super Soul Breaks are concerned, but it's down there with Yuna's as far as Burst Super Soul Breaks are concerned. It does holy damage, and then the only burst attack that matters is his first one is a 2-hit Vanishing Strike, which is not bad at all. Like, don't think that this is a bad Soul Break, it's just a bad burst. Delita's Super Soul Break is nothing special, but it's a Super Soul Break for a good character. I forget what Ovelia's Super Soul Break is. I think it's another Dream Stage. Kiraga plus Magic Link. The one there makes me think that. Either way, it's a Kiraga level Super Soul Break AoE heal. The real gems of this banner are actually 2% draw rate. They are Delita's Armor. Yeah, it's Dream Stage, that's what I thought. Delita's Armor is incredibly good. It is 1 physical blink for the entire party and 50% crit rate for all attacks for 25 seconds. This is huge from a DPS standpoint. It is an incredibly good Soul Break. Not as good as Shout, but it stacks multiplicatively with Shout. It's just incredibly good. And then Agrius' Shield is, like, if you don't know how good Agrius' Shield is, it's very good. It's a good piece of equipment in its own right as a piece of equipment. It also has 3 hits with a stacking 50% attack and magic debuff, which will just gut boss's abilities to actually hurt you. And this is on arguably one of the top 5 characters in the game. The second Tactics 2 banner is also very good. It has Shout. That makes it very good. also has Agrius' Super Soul Break, which is worse than her shield, but still a good ability. Gestadio's Super Soul Break, which is actually a support type character. He has support 4 and Eugenius 5. Elena's Dagger, I don't remember what it does off the top of my head, but people have told me it's pretty good. And then, of course, it's got Thrownstone and Gestadio's Armor, which are the worst parts of the banner, but this is still a full 6 physical character item banner for 4 good characters. So this is still a very, very, very strong consideration. And if you don't have Shout by the time this comes around, this is a good banner to pull on because this is the best physical soul break in the game. Next, we're coming close to the end here. The next one, this is the Double Burst Festival, which I am tentatively including this in this list because we should get largely the same banner. This festival, for those who don't know, was very tightly themed. Each banner was themed around characters with 5-star and one or 2 skill sets. The one I'm particularly going to point out here is the 5-star Knight banner. This one has Beatrix's Super Soul Break, which is, or Burst Soul Break, excuse me, which is extremely good. It does Imperial Holy, which increases all the holy damage you do by 20%, or reduces damage to holy by 20%, as well as has 2 pretty decent burst commands. Has Paladin Vessel's BSD, which we covered. Has Steiner's Super Soul Break, Fosh's Super Soul Break, Ingus's Super Soul Break, Leon's Super Soul Break, and Cypher's Super Soul Break. All of these are Knight 5, like they're all good characters. These are all Super Soul Breaks. If we get this exact banner, it's something worth saving up for, 100, 150 mithril for. If we don't get this exact banner, it will still likely have Lightbringer and Excalibur on it, which still makes it pretty good. It'll have 5 Knight 5 Super Soul Breaks. Maybe they'll slip in Agrius instead of Ingus or something, who knows. But just in general, this banner is almost certain to be exceptional. 2 more. We've got, I'm not including any of the other double burst ones because none of them are as good as the Knight banner. Like, even if their optimal configuration isn't as good as the Knight banner, in my opinion. The Spellblade one is likely the next best, but it's mixed with Samurai, and most of the Samurai ones just aren't as good. The next one for consideration, Gilgamesh CSP. This banner is stupid good. I said that Tactics, the original Tactics banner, might be the best physical banner in the game. This is the runner-up, or possibly the better one, depending on who you ask and what your criteria are. It has Gilgamesh's BSD, which is Tauntaliate in a hand. It's extremely good. It gives him taunt. One of his first abilities is retaliate. The other of his first abilities is a retaliate with damage tacked on top. The other one is a non-holy damage double hit banishing strike. This is an absurdly good first soul break on the best character in the game. It has Fit the Return of Ferris's BSD, which is an exceptional support BSD. It has full breakdown and then an attack on a magic break for its first command. This is not a physical ability, but Trial's Super Soul Break here is the best mage support soul break in the game. It is Haste March plus Henry Regen for the whole party. It's not something you want for your physical parties, but it's still an exceptionally good soul break to have in your back pocket. Ferris's Glove here, her second Super Soul Break. We won't get her first one, but this is her second one. The first one is tied to a collab event we won't get, so we're not going to get that soul break, unfortunately. But this one is Imperial Wind, which lowers enemies' wind resistance. It has Bartz's Super Soul Break, which is extremely good. And it has Bartz's Cloak, which is 5 wind hits plus in wind on Bartz, which increases all wind damage he deals. These are all, like, this whole banner is great. one of the best banners in the game by a very long shot. This is as good as some celebration banners are. Actually, better than a lot of celebration banners. This is something to save up money for mithril or cash if you're one people who actually spend cash on the game. And I'm not judging if I spend cash on the game. And then the final banner that I consider very good for physical teams is this one, which is the one that just came off Japan. This is the Celeste Opera Dress Record 2 banner. It has Setzer's Super Soul Break, which is another stacking debuff. Super Soul Break, it is attack and resistance. I believe it's basically the opposite to from Thon First. Fully stacking, there's no other debuff in the game which covers those two stats, so it stacks with literally everything. It has Celeste's Super Soul Break, which is 5 hits and Cran Cross. It absorbs both white and black magic directed at the party. Edgar's Super Soul Break and Saban's Super Soul Break. This is why I didn't mention the Figure Bros banner, because these come back on a much better banner. And then even Kryle's Grove Gear, even though it's kind of the big prize for the banner, it's still a Scuff plus crit stack for the party, which is exceptionally good support Soul Break if you like have AoE heals from either Ramza or Yuffie, and you don't need your healer to provide AoE heals. This is a great Soul Break to have. It will just increase your damage output so much. Alright, so that is the end of what I have for physical teams.